Hey guys, how's it going? It's Dilmer again and welcome back to my channel. So last time we went through variables and methods. This time around I actually want to cover logical expressions, and when I talk about logical expressions I'm talking about evaluating whether something is true or whether something is false. So let me actually expand on that, and I'm gonna have you do a couple of things in Unity. And I want you to create a new game object, and to do that you basically right click in the hierarchy and then create empty. So once you do it, I want to have you rename it to video 2, and then go into the inspector, add component, and we're going to create a new script. We're actually going to call it video 2. So now if we go into Visual Studio, I'm actually going to drag and drop the script into scripts because I wanted to align with the one that we created last time. And I'm also going to remove the update method because I want to focus on logical expressions this time around. Okay, so I'm basically just going to add a couple of comments, logical expressions, and I'm going to put a couple of examples. So let's say that you wanted to check if something was true or false. So, and these are things that are very objective. You know that one equal 1, because that is true. So if we say 1 equal 1, that means that is a true expression, right? If we say that 1 equal 2, that is going to be false. So the equal operator is basically trying to check whether the value from the left equals the value from the right. So you can also do things like, okay, does 1 does not equal 2, and that is going to be true because 1 does not equal 2. But if you say 2 does not equal 2, that's going to be false because 2 does equal 2. So whenever we're trying, whenever we're doing checks, you can also do checks with names and strings and what's called literals. So if we say, Dilmer equal Steve, that's actually going to be false because the string representation of Dilmer does not equal the string representation of Steve. The same thing with, if you do, let's say that we do a float number, we say 1.3333 equal 1.3333. That is going to be true because those two numbers are the same. However, if we do something like 4 equal 1.3333 4 equal this number, that's going to be false because they're not equal. So this is basically what a logical expression looks like. So how do we actually transpose that to code? So if you wanted to check whether something was true or false, you basically do the same thing. So in the previous lesson I showed you how to declare a variable. So we're going to do something similar in here. We're going to declare a variable called number 1, and we're going to say 1, and then we're going to say number 2. We're going to say 2. I'm also going to add a couple of strings so that we have them for testing, and we're going to say name 1 equal, and we're just going to say that this person's name is John, and we're going to say that name 2, it's going to be, let's say we can call this one Steve. We can also have booleans in here, so we can say bool is valid. And we can say, well, maybe this is not valid. We can just say false. And now that we have some data to test with, now how do we actually check for, whether something is true or false? So there's a couple of ways, and you can use, different expressions. You can do an if statement. You can do an else if. You can do a variable on itself with basically an expression on the right. So I'm going to show you a couple of ways. So the if statement. What if we wanted to check whether something was true or false? So if you do an if statement, the syntax is going to be the if and then your parentheses. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to check to see if number 1 equals 1. And obviously that's going to be true because we can see that it actually equals 1. And we're just going to print a log entry, and we're going to say yes, the variable part number 1 equal 1 is true. And what if we wanted to check, if we wanted to do something else, if that wasn't true, you can do what's called an else. So we can say the number 1 is false. So what's happening here is you're actually evaluating if this is true. So what we're saying is the value of number 1 equal 1? If it is, we're going to say yes, var number 1 equal 1 is true. Otherwise, which is what is expressed by the else, no, the var number 1 equal 1 is false. So if we go back into Unity, I'm actually going to remove some of the extra space, and we hit play. We're going to see some log entries, and you can see that yes, the var number 1 equal 1 is true. What I'm actually going to do, so that you don't see all the print statements from the previous script, is I'm actually going to go into video 1 and disable the video 1 script, and then when we hit play, we should only see the debug entry for our video 2, and that's what we see. So let's actually get more advanced. Let's say that we wanted to check a couple of conditions. So we could do, so let's actually copy this code. I'm actually going to go down. And what if you wanted to check whether the variable number 1 was equal to the variable number 2? So we could actually do that here. We could say if number 1 equal 2, then we print this. Otherwise, we print this. And obviously, we're going to see this because the number 1 variable is 1. And number 2 variable is 2, and they are not equal. So now if we save this and we go into Unity and hit play, we're going to see no, the var number 1 equal 1 is false because it's actually comparing the second variable, which is the number 2. So what if you wanted to check, do another condition? So this is an if statement here, and then we have another if statement where else is true, and an if statement where first condition is true. So what if we wanted to do 2 if statements followed with an else? So we can do something like this. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to copy this code, and we know that this is going to be false, but what if we wanted the second condition? What if we wanted another condition here that says else if? And we're actually going to make else if equal true. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to change is valid to true, and we're going to say we know the number 1 is equal 1, so that is true, and is valid equal true. You can also say is valid on itself because it's actually going to evaluate to a Boolean, which is currently set to true, so that statement is going to be true. So what is this and means, and what is this else if means? So what's going to happen here is we're going to be checking to see if number 1 equal 2, number 2. If this condition was true, we're going to print this out. If this condition is false, what's going to happen with the else if is going to actually go down here and check this other condition. And the evaluation is going to check, okay, is the number 1 equal 1, which we know is going to be true because we set it to 1 right above it. And what's going to happen with the end, so what the end is actually checking to make sure that, I'm checking condition number 1, which is the left expression, and I'm also want to make sure that the condition on the right is true. So a name, the way that a name works is like every part of the end. So for instance, if I write this down, I'm going to say, okay, number 1 equal 1, so that is going to be true, and is valid is true. So when you have an and, it's actually both of the sides needs to be true in order for that to be, valid, for actually to be true. So if number 1 equal 1 and the is valid equal true, it's actually going to execute this condition. If is valid was false, then we have a true on the left, that's actually going to be false, so it's going to execute the condition below. So whenever you're using the and operator, everything that is within the parentheses needs to be true before the condition can actually be true. So if we go down, and so we know that this is false, we know that this is true, we should actually see So what I'm actually going to do so that we see it clearly when we execute the game is that we're actually going to paste this out. And yes, the var number 1 equal 1 and is valid as well. So if we go back into Unity and we hit play, and looks like we have a few warnings, which is fine. And looks like that worked. Number 1 equal 1 and is valid, is true. So that executed. Okay, so we check a couple of things. We did an if statement with an else. We also did an if statement with an else, but having basically two variable checks. And we also did introduce the else if. So what if you wanted to, check a condition on the right hand side of the variable? Let's say that we wanted to do something like this. I'm actually going to go down and I'm going to create a new Boolean. And actually, instead of doing no Boolean, I'm going to do is valid. What if we wanted to check to make sure that number 1 equal 1? And actually, the result of that we wanted to put into the variable is valid. So we could actually do something like this. We could actually do a shorthand and say, okay, if number 1 equal 1, we want to return the Boolean operation, the result of the Boolean operation into this variable. So we can actually do a debug.log and then say is valid equal, and then we're just going to print the result of is valid so that we can see it on the console. So now if we go back into the game and we hit play, we should see that is valid equal true. What if you wanted to do, evaluate a false expression? We know the number 1 does not equal number 2, so we can say number 1 equal number 2, and that it's going to be false. So if we go back into Unity and hit play, we're going to see that is valid now becomes false, because that is actually false. Number 1 and number 2 variable do not have the same value. So let's go back into Unity. So in the previous video, I show you how to create methods. So what if you wanted to create a method that actually returned a Boolean operation, whether it was true or false? So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to create a new method, and I'm actually going to return a bool. And a Boolean type is actually a value that specifies whether something is true or false. So you can only have an evaluation to true or false. So I could say something like, if I wanted to go up and say bool is valid Boolean, so this can only be set to true or false. If I put a value of, let's say I put a long string, that's going to be invalid because that's actually not a string. Or if I wanted to do something like, the word false with uppercase, that's not valid because it's actually in C# you declare true or false with lowercase. So now that we have that down, let's actually create a new method, and I'm actually going to return a bool. And I'm going to say bool, I want to check whether two values are equal or not. So I'm going to say check value equality. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pass into integers. I'm going to say value 1, integer, value 2. And inside of it, I'm actually going to create a if statement. I could actually do multiple ways to do this, but so I could say if value equal value 2, I'm going to return true. Otherwise, which I show you how to do an else, I'm going to return false. So I could do that, and that would actually work if I pass in value 1 of 1 and value 2 of 1 as well. This is going to be true. But actually, you don't need to have all these. This is actually for clarity. Like if you're learning C#, this is great. But I could actually make this code much shorter by just doing a return on that, because that's actually a logical expression. We're checking whether value 1 equal value 2. If that is true, I'm going to return true. If they're not equal, then I'm going to return false. So how do we actually test it? Let's actually go here, and I'm actually going to do a debug.log and I'm gonna say check equality, and we can actually just call the method in here, and I'm gonna say, okay, does 1 equal 1, which is obviously true. And I'm actually gonna add another debug entry, and I'm gonna say does 100 equal 200, which is false. So we should see a true first and then a false after the fact. So if we go into Unity and hit play, and we should see check equality is true, and then the next line down says false. So that is actually working. So I explained to you what the n% was, basically determining quality. So you could do something like, you know, true and true. That's actually gonna equal to true. But if I do true and false, that's actually gonna equal to false, because everything within the parentheses needs to be equal to true before the whole expression can evaluate to true. So what if you wanted to check, what if you wanted to introduce another operator, which is actually an OR operator? So what does that OR mean? So what that means is that if any of the sides are true, the whole expression is going to evaluate to true. Meaning if you say, you know, let's say in our example, let me actually do a concrete example so that you know what I mean. So I'm actually going to copy some code for right above it. And actually let's do this one right here. And what I'm gonna do, actually go back into 100% because like I hit the wrong key. Okay, so we know that number 1 does not equal number 2. So, and we're saying, you know, we're printing this out. But what if we wanted to add another operation in here? We wanted to say, you know, we wanted to enforce this and say, okay, you know, this is actually going to be is valid for whatever reason. So what's going to happen here, we know that this expression is going to be false because number 1 and number 2 do not have the same number. But we know that the variable is valid is actually set to true. So what's going to happen, because we're using the OR operator, what the compiler is going to do is going to say, okay, this is, you know, this is totally false, but this is true. So we're going to actually print this line. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to copy this, and I'm actually going to say, yes, this is true. And we don't need to bother with the else because I know this is actually going to work. Now if we go back into Unity and we hit play, then we see that, yes, okay, so here's where yes, the var number 1 equal 1 and is valid. Actually go back into C#, just make sure that I print it out correctly, and I have, okay, I think I printed out correctly. Number 1 equal, okay, yep, it did do it. So it's actually this line right here. So I can see that yes, the var number 1 equal 1 and is valid, which is actually, oh, it's actually not that line. Because, so let me see what I'm doing incorrect. In here, number 1 equal number 2, or is valid. And let me make sure that, okay, I see. Yeah, because I actually overrode the is valid. Let's actually comment this out. I'm actually going to comment all of these out, because I'm checking to see that number 1 equal number 2, which is false, and therefore is making is valid false, which is why this line is not printing. So I'm going to, there we go. Actually, let's actually move this up so I don't want to have commented code when I submit it to GitHub. So I want you to understand what I'm doing. So I'm going to actually paste it in here, and I'll clean this up before I push it. And okay, perfect. So now let's go into Unity and hit play. And we should be able to see that line be printed out, and that's what we're printing. Yes, number 1 equal number 2, which is actually false, and then is valid equal true, which is the reason why we're printing these out. Okay, excellent. So how else could we be using expressions, logical expressions, when we're making games? So I mean, there's many ways that you can use these expressions. Is basically when you're looking for equality, when you're looking for, let's say that you're dealing with data and you wanted to know the length of a string. So if you look at the things that we declare right above, we were declaring the word John and Steve. We could also do logical expressions on those values. So we can say, if we wanted to check whether name1 equal name2, and we could actually print that information out. And I'm just gonna cheat here and actually copy that entry, and we can say that this is not going to be printing out because they're not the same value. We can say yes in here, and or we can add our else in here, and then we can say no. So obviously this is gonna print no, because if you look at the declaration, the name John does not equal the name Steve. But what if we make both of them the same? What if we wanted to make, name2 was also John because we had another person called John? So in that case, name1 and name2 are going to be the same, so therefore that expression is going to execute. So if we go back into Unity and we hit play, we should see that getting printed out. Yes, name1 equal name2, which is true. So what if we wanted to check that the length was maybe greater than 2, because we wanted to make sure that people at least were putting the initials? So we could say something like, so we could actually just copy this code, and we can say, okay, we could check whether the length. So these are all methods that are available, actually properties that are available in the string class. So we could actually say, okay, if it was greater than or equal to 2, this was going to be a true expression. And we also wanted to check, let's say that we also wanted to check whether name2 had the length of greater than or equal to maybe 3. And we can actually copy this and paste it in here. And I'm actually going to paste it in here. And now let's go into Unity and then hit play. And looks like, yep, the length of the name number1 and number2, they both are greater than or equal to 2, and name2 is also greater than or equal to 3. So that is true. So what if we name it, what if we actually change those names? And let's say that we call the first one J, and then the other one we call it DV. We go back into the application, into Unity, hit play. We should not see anything getting printed out for names. And we actually see the no, because yes, name1 was actually it was actually a 1 character, and name2 was 2 characters, so the expression was false. So that's what we're seeing, no. So in the next video, I'm actually going to walk you through how to create loops and different type of while loops. And in addition, I'm actually going to be talking a little bit about how we can use logical expressions in loops. So that's really all I wanted to cover. I'm going to be checking this into GitHub. So if you guys have any questions about anything that I mentioned, let me know through the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and share this video. Thank you guys.